What is up, my people of the blockchain basement? I know. I'm 10 minutes behind schedule. I had to wait a minute. We just got through an awesome interview with the founder of Aave on Discover Crypto. And man, Aave is going to be one of the world's, if not the largest bank in the world in a few years from here. But we got an absolute boatload of news. Honestly, I know things kind of seem a little bit sleepy, but a lot has happened over the week, and especially over this weekend. We're going to be talking about it. Bitcoin had a massive amount of manipulation about 4 a.m. today. I'm going to tell you exactly why this went down, what's going on the charts for Bitcoin, and especially altcoins. We're sitting here waiting for this Ethereum pump when alt season. We're going to take a look at that in this show today. Also, the inevitability of World War III getting closer and closer to the door from a few key events that happened. Very, very crazy. So honestly, I have a whole hell of a lot of stuff to go through. On top of that, my hometown got hit by a freaking, I don't know if I could say this on the interwebs without getting canceled or whatnot, but let's just say that someone who wasn't legally here in the U.S. Carried out a very violent attack in my hometown. So we're going to be looking at that. Absolutely crazy. What is up? A Green Day Profits. Good to meet you in Las Vegas, my brother. Brandon Destroyer. I met Destroyer too. What's up, man? Nicole Ministator. This is the Bitcoin Way. Came and hang out at the house. Shout out to you, Alexandra G. Thanks for the shout out there. Crypto Stevo. God, you know, Crypto Stevo, I was hanging out with another Stevo. I don't know. I met a couple Stevos. I thought that was you. So we're going to get a chance to hang together, man. Absolutely crazy. I can't believe I was in Crypto Stevo. But if you can, make sure to follow me here on X. I am doing tons of live kind of spaces, live shows, obviously, here at Druth Crypto on the Twitter. And, you know, these are kind of my takeaways. Bitcoin Vegas was really great. Everything we thought would happen with Bitcoin is happening, and even beyond expectations. Altcoins, on the other hand, have been brutally beaten down, and I feel it definitely on my own portfolio, even having extremely low entry points. I mean, a lot of my positions are still 3x, 4x, and there is a lot of lack of movement for altcoins. So we're going to take a look at that. Maybe this is the cycle where none of these blue chips do shit, but investors of smaller crypto projects simply lose, or the cycle is bigger than anything I could have ever imagined, and these entries end up playing out to gains that I could have only dreamed of. And here I am back in office, locked in. Shout out. We got Nicole Ministator, member for 19 months. Missed you, Nicole. Absolutely missed you. Now, let's take a look at the markets here. So we got Bitcoin writhing around at 104.5, essentially. You know, in this week, it was kind of lackluster. I lost like $100 getting stopped out in my sleep late last night from a crazy manipulation, in my opinion, that went down. Let's go take a look at the charts here. It's been a little bit weird. Not going to lie, been a little bit weird on the charts. We're going to take a look here. So this is the 4-hour roll tick to the upside that I was calling for, and I definitely made that move, and, you know, things were going fine. I put my stop loss in slight profit, though. It got hit on this pullback early this morning. A giant red candle went down here. Let's measure just the overall distance of this bad boy. It was thick, 1.82% on the 4-hour. You know, where things sit right now, I'm still in general operating off of that weekly green dot, but this is kind of a reset point. We're coming back to this, you know, 103 target makes a lot of sense. And, you know, generally I had this drawback to this level drawn for quite some time. Not really surprised by this. And it does go in line with the M2 money supply in a short-term correction. So my general thesis is still up and to the right, but I am expecting us to have to fight to hold this position here at about 103K to prove it as support here. Need proof that Isaac does crypto is okay. Let me see here. I called him this morning. He's heading out on a I think it's like a ministry camp thing that he does for the youth. He teaches kids about Christ. So he's out there doing that, and I love that about Isaac. So yeah, Isaac's doing good. He did survive Vegas, and he behaved himself. You know, I was thinking I was going to have to separate myself by hundreds of feet from him. But you know, he did a good job. And then that was an 18-year-old in Vegas, man. To be 18 in Vegas. Ellie, no, I did not do that. I did hang out with the dudes. You know what I found out that was kind of crazy is the dudes from Altcoin Daily. They've watched The Basement before here. I want to find this here. We went out to Benjamin Cowan's party and met a lot of really, really big names in the space. And it was really, really humbling to hear that Altcoin Daily knew about my channel, kind of watched it every now and again. That was freaking crazy for me to hear. And really going out to Vegas, it really kind of reminds me that, you know, there is an impact that I'm making and I'm being heard. And it's thanks to you guys, you know, sharing the show and getting the info out there here. Here it is. So this is the big selfie is me and my beautiful wife, Tiana, right there. Deezy, Kat, Ben Cowan. I found out this guy's Paul Barron. I learned a lot of the names of kind of the bigger folks in there. I kind of stay in my little bubble here, but it was very, very cool meeting them. I also met J Chains. I forgot to post the selfie, but I met up with J Chains out there. And this is the total sentiment. Uber drivers, after hearing about Bitcoin 3 days straight from the Bitcoin conference attendees, I'm sure they're happy that the conference is over here. And also, Alex O Crypto, shout out to you, bro. Alex O goes live early in the morning for morning, TA and Market Watch. Very cool dude. Very cool dude. He is based in Canada, I believe. And he made some good points here. He's like, the crypto space often gets painted with a scammy brush, but he saw a different side of that canvas, you know, where it's just us creators that are all, you know, focused on the markets, trying to provide the best alpha and do best for our families. So that's really what I saw when I went out there. Now, what I saw on the charts this morning, death and destruction. We're going to zoom in on the 15-minute, right? And now there's a lot of speculation going on about why these kind of washouts keep happening. But honestly, it all comes down to liquidations, in my opinion. I think that this bull market is still on for sure. But there's a lot of over leveraged big plays happening in the background here, and primarily this dude, James Wynn. Last name Wynn, not winning. He did $100 million Bitcoin long. As earlier this morning, he unstaked and sold $4.1 million worth of Hyperliquid for USDC and then went straight back into the casino. Currently down 73% on that trade as of this morning. Here's James Wynn posting about his travels across the blockchain liquidation realm here. They're coming for me again. Liquidation price 103,640, right? Don't let the evil bastards liquidate me. Well, what happened right after he put out that tweet, it's so insane, is this. We fell down to 103,000, just above his liquidation level. I mean, my God, we came within like $60 of it. Absolutely crazy. Guy's unhinged. He refuses to give up. He's, talking about his comeback story. And like, I understand that moment when you take a big hit, but trading is all about being able to trade another day. And, for this, that's why I set my stop loss last night. Even if I lose 5% on this smaller trade and it's $100, at least, because if you're trading, you're losing sleep. You're losing sleep big time. And now people are depositing money into this dude's account. $20,000 of it donated funds from to Hyperliquid, slightly lowered his liquidation price to 103,610 from these donated funds from the people trying to keep him afloat here. Absolutely crazy though. What up, Deucey? Deucey's going to be keeping my head on straight as we go through the weekend, this new setup here to make sure that we get all the alpha we can to the Discord community as well. I know I've been unplugged for quite some time, but you know what? I went out there and I'm pretty good at roulette, apparently. Look at this thing. So I got this, I think it's from Coin Vigilante. And this watch, I won this on roulette. I went in there and I was like, I'm only going to literally only play with $50. If I win, I win. If I lose, fine. You know what? I made a big hit. I put it was like 25 or $50. Okay, so here's the deal. I was on roulette and I thought I had like $1 bets just to buy some time and get some free drinks, right? So I was doing the $1 bets on the center numbers and I just chose black 13 and I pressed the button and put like 25 or 50 bucks on that Black 13. It hit. And then I went and got a watch. So walked out of Vegas doing pretty good. It was an absolute blast out there. I absolutely loved it. All right. So now we've covered the Wynn situation. And this story about James Wynn really should remind us, like, leverage is great. And just if you're leverage trading, I just want to say this, like, it takes years of beatings and getting your head kicked in basically on the leverage trading side to actually get the swing of it. So if you are new to trading, go in there with enough money that you're not worried about losing it all. You know what I mean? Like, you're paying a tuition to learn how the markets breathe, and the markets breathe in an ebb and flow. It's a wave setup, and you just don't want to get overexposed and blow your load leverage trading, man, because there's so much in the future for crypto, for Bitcoin, especially, that I can see from the conference as well. And this is the big takeaway that I had from the conference, is that a lot of these companies are learning how to leverage the existing setups of what mortgages are, of what, general lending is, into Bitcoin. And this is something where, we are not necessarily revamping or taking over the system of Bitcoin with Bitcoin, taking over the system of macroeconomics. We're essentially just trying to pad the back end so that the loans have, more stable ground to walk upon. And it seems like that was the general vibe of Bitcoin Vegas this year. But now we have this mad lad. Let's see if I can pull this up. Mr. Michael Saylor buying another 700 Bitcoin worth 75 million bucks. He will forever top blast into Valhalla. Shout out to Michael Saylor. I didn't get a chance to meet him out there. But you know what? Got to respect the hustle. Now, we see more stories of this. I've seen this quite a bit, where this Meta Planet company out of Japan has been stacking quite a bit of Bitcoin. They bought 1,000 Bitcoin worth $114 million for themselves. And now they're nearing a holdings of 10,000 Bitcoin worth $930 million. But the bigger play here is the conversation of a Japanese large corporation pivoting out of their traditional finance sector. And this is the reason the Japanese stock just saw a weekly outflow of almost $12 billion. This is the largest outflow in Japan equity funds in the entire history of their markets here. So things are getting wonky in Japan. And, seeing a company like Metaplanet leverage the power of Bitcoin and take on this Bitcoin strategy, I think, when we look at how disruptive Bitcoin is, America, we're like, all right, it's an immovable object. We're going to adopt it over time. We're going to set out these reserves. But countries in situations like Japan or like El Salvador was in give greater need to make the major pivot into the future of money and what we know as it. So seeing this, it's just a large kind of canary in the coal mine for macroeconomic markets, in my opinion, because there are serious problems with the way that things are set up right now. You have leveraged loans on top of leveraged loans, and this is where the great unraveling of the 2008 crisis came about, and then the birth of Bitcoin, right? Needing sounder money supply and a finite supply, right? And so, seeing Wall Street kind of absorb this idea, it's very bittersweet for me. It's very bittersweet because I hope that the powers that be don't just simply do the same thing that we've seen them do in the past, which is where they just leverage loan on top of leverage loan and then keep going until it collapses. So I do want to see this conversation take place where Michael Saylor is being rumored to be asking to go on Joe Rogan and talk to Joe Rogan about Bitcoin. I would love to see this conversation go down. Joe Rogan has a pretty wide audience. It's a large audience that's not involved with crypto yet, so that'd be very cool to see. And I believe this is originating from the Rational Root. Yeah, I actually was at a house with the Rational Root out in Vegas. This is the halving progress highlight here. And this is halving for the dark kind of colored spots here are like the local tops. And a lot of people are thinking that we're cooked. There's a lot of concerns that, we have reached kind of the crescendo of this market. And, when we're looking at this situation, we have regulatory adoption, yada, 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 all these great things, just constant bullish news for Bitcoin. And we haven't seen that type of massive expansion that we'd expect to see from the actual price yet. There's a few reasons for this, because these massive buys that we're seeing, the IBIT do, and we're seeing MicroStrategy do, they're using algorithms to purchase that Bitcoin. So as long as the market remains choppy, and choppy is absolutely what we're looking at right now, as long as this kind of environment remains, I'll get this Google ad out of here. How that got in there? Got in my face. Then they can use the algorithm to go in and into their positions, right? As long as the chop remains, they can easily get into these positions. When the price starts running away from them in situations like this is where it's not as easy to mask those buys. So, just for some context on when moon, why not now moon, that's kind of what we're looking at here. So I want to head on over to CoinGlass as well and check out the Pi cycle top indicator, because a lot of people are saying that, the top's in. And I get it myself. I've got very low entry points on my altcoins, but the price, man, I mean, we would have expected something much, much bigger if everything had moved exactly to historical norms. And I don't think that this market is broken, but it definitely has changed. There's no denying that this market has changed here. So really, I'm using the Pi cycle top indicator as my main bellwether to figure out where that change is leading us. And right now, we're not looking too bad at all. There's a massive, massive distance between the 111-day moving average to the 350-day times 2. So I'm sitting cozy. I'm not worried that the top was in either one of these things. I'm still looking at the 170 to 200 mark for like the peak crescendo of the market, the hyper speculation. And people are like, yeah, there's no speculation out there. It's all over with. People only want Bitcoin. Then the easiest play in that mindset is to hold Bitcoin. I've been in this for a while, and I've seen alt season operate the way it has in the past. And I know that there are short months where altcoins outperform, but you know what? Those months might be even shorter with how much dominance Bitcoin is showing. Bitcoin dominance is right at about 64% right now. Let's check this out. Bitcoin dominance is holding very, very strong as of late. So this is on the 4-hour. Let's back it up to the weekly, and let's take a gander of what we're looking at here. So, and essentially, it's at this like perfect golden pocket Kelly was talking about. Still, it is stalling out at that golden pocket. Kelly was talking about hoping we find that resistance and then the breakdown from. This isn't to say that hoping Bitcoin's price breaks down, but rather that the grander crypto market and the larger market cap starts moving up against Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's still climbing up to the $3 to $4 trillion mark. I think that's a reasonable target for this current market that we're in. So when I look at charts like this, people acting like, oh, it's over with, it's done for. It's, I get impatient too. I get it. My wife's the greatest at keeping, she's just patience, right? Just patience. And I know that, I know it. It's just good to have a reminder sometimes. So I came out here to tell you guys this. Patience, young Padawan. You'll get there. The greatest investments, the greatest moves in investments happen with extreme patience and being able to hold when times are unsure, right? That's the whole thing about it. And speaking of unsure times, things are getting crazy macroeconomically. So Russia's largest bank, Sberbank, has launched a structured bond setup linked to Bitcoin. Okay, so we have one of the largest banks in Russia setting up bit bonds, essentially. And it's a big damn deal. This is a big deal. Now, Russia's economy is not as big as the United States by any means, but they are big players on the macroeconomic scale. And even Czech Justice Minister Pavel resigned over the weekend in connection to this Bitcoin scandal after he sold Bitcoin that was donated to him worth about $45 million. Little hand in the cookie jar there. Now, there is actually a ton of stuff. We're going to keep running through this because I have to cover so much, you guys. ETFs in the last month added 50,000 Bitcoin. Okay, so if we're thinking that it's over, it is done for. Just look at this. 50,000 Bitcoin were added to the ETFs just in May. Now we're moving into June. I think the rest of the year is going to be pretty hot and heavy in terms of price action. And the pullback, not only are we looking at the pullback from the general stance of wanting a proof of support of those previous highs, but it's right in line with the M2 money supply pullback. The M2 money supply, it peaks up, comes back down, tests support at this local peak, and then kept moving on up from there. Bitcoin, it fades this by about 105 days, the M2 money supply. So it's essentially right on time in terms of 105-day lag. It's just a simple pullback to prove that previous high as the support level. And this is huge. This is huge. Chick-fil-A dropped an ad. Our pickles don't touch, just like God intended from Chick-fil-A. Absolutely wonderful. Making me want to go get a sandwich here. So now, gone through all the Bitcoin statistics, all the data behind it. Things are looking right on course, and I am still in the general thought that $103,500 is acting as pretty strong support. So I'm still trading off of that thesis. But there is some major variables that we're dealing with here. And one of them is we all thought that World War III was going to be solved me too, that Trump was going to be able to find a peace deal between Zelensky of Ukraine and Putin of Russia, right? We're all looking forward to that, the peace pump, all that good stuff. Well, in usual bullshit fashion, here's Vladimir Zelensky rugging us of the opportunity for peace. Today, a brilliant operation was carried out. Preparation took over a year and a half. What's most interesting is that the office of our operation on Russian territory was located directly next to the FSB headquarters in one of their regions. A total of 117 drones were used in the operation, corresponding with a number of drone operators. And these were fired. These drones came out of trucks, hidden trucks. 34% of strategic cruise missile carriers stationed at air bases were hit. 34% of the strategic cruise missile carriers at this base were hit. That is a massive blow to Russian air dominance. And what it looks like is about 40 large aircraft were destroyed in this operation. Major escalation. This is Danish. I really don't want World 3 either, Danish. Tiny drones humiliate Russia's giant bombers. Ukraine delivered one of the most daring, humiliating blows, yada, yada, yada. Here's some imagery of that attack right there. And you know what? They're comparing this to the Pearl Harbor for Russia. This was about $7 to $8 billion in damage that was done by these drones. I had a very interesting conversation with a AI developer on the plane back to Georgia here. He was talking about the U.S. military doesn't have a bunch of people and kind of the morale of getting into the military is kind of low. And he's from the military. I was like, how many people do you actually need if you have radio frequency weaponry, if you have satellite weaponry, if you have drone weaponry? Like, how many, do we need 1 million people running those? He's like, no, honestly, no. He's literally developing AI and he's still stuck in this idea that we need a bunch of boots on the ground. And they do their good, right? Usually after large initial devices do their damage, though. That's the real use case of it. So, seeing this escalation between Ukraine and Russia, very, very bad. And then it immediately went to these words that Trump had said about a week ago. I think it was. We started to see their relationship, but the rhetoric behind the relationship deteriorate here. Here's Donald Trump talking about it. Vladimir Putin always had a good relationship with him, but something has happened to him. He's gone absolutely crazy, needlessly killing a lot of people. And I'm not just talking about soldiers, missiles, and drones being shot into cities in Ukraine for no reason whatsoever. There are reasons. If you're at war, if you're actively at war, there's reasons for it. I can see it from Russia's side, but it is very brutal and ugly to see. Nonetheless, I always said that he wants all of Ukraine, not just a piece of it. And maybe that's proving to be right. But if he does, it'll lead to the downfall of Russia. Very problematic message from Trump in regards to the Ukraine-Russia situation. And this is basically what's, in my opinion, going to happen from here. And this oil-fueled rando agrees. Kiev is about to look like one of those bombed-out World War II towns. That is, and so this escalation is not done. And it is really, really unfortunate, not just on the loss of life side, especially, but, on the uncertainty side, it is going to be a very, very uncertain future here in the short term. And Hegseth added flame to the fire here. There's no reason to sugarcoat it. The threat China poses is real and it could be imminent. Talking about that Taiwan push and pull between the United States and China over production of semiconductor chips in Taiwan. Now, on a trade level side, we've already seen this tug of war happen where Taiwan Semiconductor moved a plant to Arizona. And the thought was that the Taiwan semiconductor plant in Arizona would be much, much more expensive to produce chips at, but it actually came out to 10% more expensive to produce wafers at this Arizona location. So there is a degree of, start to this. Essentially, it's a war with China. Okay, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Like China, if they don't control Taiwan and Taiwan's semiconductor industry, they're going to go batshit crazy. Now, can they win? I don't, honestly, it's doubtful in my mind that China, I know they've been around for thousands of years. The United States has been around for a few hundred years as an established nation, but the United States has literally been actively at war this entire time. So currently on the world macro stage, we are the most experienced violent nation on the planet. If they want to go blow to blow with the United States about this, it's going to be very, very ugly for everyone. And honestly, drones are probably going to play a pretty big part of this aspect. So keeping this in mind, I love crypto and I love, all the things that crypto can do in terms of, helping me outpace inflation and things of that nature. But it's always very, very useful to have hillbilly contingencies, learning how your life would work and how it would look should something like this go down, right? Because anyone's like, I have gold bars, I'm going to shave little pieces of gold off for a loaf of bread at my local market when it goes down. I really doubt that. I think that the I don't know how to say this the nice way. The this is a weird way to put it. He who acts first and most ferociously is the greatest currency in that situation. That's all there is to it. So now with all this uncertainty, man, the altcoins are hurting a little bit. Let's go take a look at the altcoin market. So let's go to crypto bubbles first and foremost here. I'll pull this up. Oh, I almost closed you guys out. Bam. Virtual on the year still up 2,000%. But let's take a look on the day and what's going on the day in the top 100. Monero. Things are getting scary if Monero is one of the biggest movers out there. And Flare showing 5% gain. Shout out to the XRP eco. It's not really like specifically XRP ecosystem, but I know a lot of XRP holders got this Flare airdrop. I got some. Now Quant down 5%, Virtual's down 5%. Really, altcoins are kind of sleepy right now. Kind of sleepy. And for that, I've got my altcoin bag packed. I'm actively trading and just swapping the tether into Bitcoin as I go. Because I got my altcoin bag that's out there on the front lines fighting for more Satoshis and using the trades to add to Bitcoin stack. That is the whole intention for me in this life right now. And we see things like this, add a little bit more fear to the fuel and the fire here. SEC says that Ethereum and Solana staking products from Rex Financial and Osprey funds may not qualify as ETFs. So we're seeing a little hold up, wait a minute, on staking being offered through these ETFs for Ethereum and Solana. Now, the reason why this matters a lot to me is because one of the feelings that I have is when we see Ethereum staking come available to its ETF, that's when I feel like Wall Street and the large investors would really, really start to see some movement in interest of Ethereum ETFs, particularly, and Solana as well. But seeing the SEC kind of be like, hold up, wait a minute. I think they realize how disruptive it would be to get those large of gains out of ETFs. And really, man, like they might say no to it. They might say no to it. I really feel like there's not a guarantee here that, we get staking to ETFs. Let's see what Crypto Steve here is saying. I hope you guys are paying attention, which altcoins pumped the hardest when Bitcoin went to 111. Most likely be the same coins that pumped the hardest. This is a good point. The strongest movers. And a lot of the strongest movers, they had strong moves back. But what Steve was saying, there's a lot of truth to it. Like, when things really start cooking, things get very, very crazy. We do see some institutional moves from Ethereum coming in this form, though, with SharpLink, the gaming enterprise is set out to raise $1 billion to acquire Ethereum, kind of an Ethereum strategy play from a gaming company. Very interesting to see. And also, Sui is about to pass XRP in total transaction count. Absolutely massive moves. Sui has been ramping up in terms of transaction movements very, very quickly against one of the, XRP is one of the biggest projects out there. It's like number 3 in terms of market cap size. Sui catching up very, very quickly here. And it really shrugged off the CETUS protocol, problem pretty easily. And, through that whole CETUS protocol debacle, we learned, they can stop the blockchain and reverse it. Did the market care? No, the market did not care. And now it's just moving on up into the right. Bitcoin been drowning since the conference. Surprise? No, Cham. I'm not really that surprised by it. It's kind of like the Vegas hangover for Bitcoin. I was actually surprised we didn't have a bigger pullback when I was out there. This is a quick warning about one particular RWA project, though, from Not Telling. He was kind of in on the, when we were sitting here complaining about Ohm and the Ohm scam that ended up playing out and Ohm rugged. Another big scam has come on his radar called White Rock Fi, or White. All the money flowing into White are funds from Syncus rug pull that happened in March of 2024 in order to pump the chart to get retail to FOMO in and then extract all the value. According to his internal sources, White is doing the same Syncus playbook. Money from the rug pull is being used to buy White, the token. They pay big KOLs to promote White on X, TikTok, YouTube, etc., causing that FOMO. And the White team, in collaboration with Syncus team, extract the value. Sooner or later, they're planning the ultimate rug to extract the value, similar to what Ohm and Syncus did. So watch out for that. If you're in on this project, just understand that should that day come, don't say I didn't warn you. Here's something interesting I liked. This is a project I liked. I saw Veteran Crypto with DeFi Crypto and Airdrops. Him and Jeff were looking at this thing, this Keto project. Keto, I want to check this out here because I just seen it being posted, not just by Veteran, by a couple other crypto researchers, crypto savants, should I say, that we're liking what they see. Now the tagline of it, kind of stupid, cross-border payments, yada yada yada. But I want to go into the actual setup here. So it's only got 14,000 followers, but it's getting a lot of love on each one of these posts, and it looks pretty organic. You got 200, 300, 31, 189. They're not gaming their Twitter account, which is great, really great for me to see. I don't like to see when accounts are gaming their numbers. And it'll happen on crypto shows. It'll happen all over the place, you guys. Like, be careful out there. Overall, we've have data going back to about March of 2025. So only a few months old. It has risen very, very violently from this 10-cent mark, nearly 10xing already. So I'm in the opinion, and looking at this from a chart perspective, where I'm not going to go chasing this top. But the first level down that I could get, a little bit of slight exposure on this thing is in the mid 60-cent range. And then I could be looking in the 40-cent range for DCA opportunity for this project. It seems pretty interesting. It's getting good limelight, and it's getting a lot of movement right off the bat, which I think is interesting to me. And I didn't see a bunch of scammy KOLs putting it out there either. It was just good people that I know of that were looking at a decent project. So shout out to Veteran Crypto, and make sure you follow Veteran and Jeff at DeFi Crypto Airdrops. You know what? We're going to go to their YouTube here and find them, because you guys need to follow. You need to follow them. DeFi Crypto Airdrops. I am going here. I'm going on the YouTubes. I'm giving you guys a shill. I'm shilling my friends. Where are you at? There's Veteran with his illustrious beard. Okay, this is just, he's got one of the best beards, I think, in all of crypto, for sure. So there's Jeff, fresh out of the gym. Look at him. He's unsuspecting. Whoa, he's got the guns. All right, so 48,000 subscribers here at DeFi Crypto and Airdrop. Go give them a follow. They do a lot of in-depth looks at different DeFi protocols. If you want to learn how to make passive income, hop on over there. They're really good dudes, and they work hard. So now Okay, we got to talk about this. So, seeing the macroeconomic environment, there's been a lot of conversation about people in the middle and lower class essentially just not having the money to buy products at the levels that they're currently sold for right now, and primarily in the new car realm. Now we tack on tariffs. All the companies like, we're going to charge you more because we can't make our 800%. This is coming in. I will say this, hearing the Treasury Secretary talk about inflation's down, it's so wonderful. Like a regular car costs $100,000. Like a Toyota Sequoia is $100,000 right now off the lot from Toyota. That is absolutely insane for me to think about. Even used cars are going ballistic. So we have to find ways to make money to outpace, actually, keep up with this rate of inflation, even though the talking heads are like, hey, what are you talking about? Everything's so great. Food has tripled. Housing has doubled or tripled. Cars have doubled or tripled. Like everything that we know has doubled or tripled over the last short few years here. And people are being absolutely demolished on the, regular side here. So let's go and listen to this. This guy is on the car loan side, and he has a crazy, crazy revelation. This is the pain I keep covering on the banking side, and why I love crypto so much is because I just want out of the banks. I don't want to deal with them because they are heavily at risk. So I am absolutely going to show this video. I found this very, very insightful here. Let's pull up the right one. Okay, there we go. Let's have a listen.
I just got off the phone with an underwriter at a bank that confirms that the car market crash is coming. And you shouldn't take advice from me because I have a bikini bottom shirt on, but listen up. I submitted a customer this morning to get approved for one of our vehicles on our lot. We had an automatic decline, so typically we'll call in and get a manual approval or a push through with an underwriter at this specific bank. This underwriter was a bit chatty today, so she gave me a little bit of behind the scenes of how bad the bank was doing and how high their auto loan delinquencies and car repossession rate has been sky high. I'm talking about like this is the all-time high for this company. Let me post the clip.
I mean, that's the thing. With these crazy rates and the high cars from the auction, and it's been a lot.
Yes. But I mean, so you're saying your repo rates have been crazy, right? Like all the delinquencies and repos?
Oh yeah, they were crazy.
Probably the highest it's ever been in that company, hasn't it?
It really has, and it wasn't your lower FICO. It was at 600 customers.
Oh my God, 600 customers. That's crazy. So I mean, that proves my point, is the fact that that people just don't have money nowadays. Like it's just a situation. Even if you got decent credit, you got to make a decision between rent. And insurance has been crazy high. I don't know if you guys have been seeing these insurance quotes. We're talking about 3-4 times what people paying for insurance. So,
oh yeah, my insurance is.
So let's think about this for a second. So we've had cars double or triple in their cost off the lot. We've had insurance rates double up to 5x depending on where you live. And now people are being replaced by AI. Like this is an absolute recipe for disaster. And seeing this, I am looking out. I'm watching the car market for a big correction. I'm also watching the housing market for a big correction. In the same regards, it's like we get told that everything's so great. And what are you complaining about? 2%, 3% inflation just this month. That's great. That's a great target to hit. Things have doubled or tripled at minimum in our lives across the board over the last few years. So when someone comes to me and they're like, why do you focus so much on crypto? It's because I need to outpace inflation to be able to provide for my family at the rate that, I would expect to be able to provide them for at. Seeing this stuff happen to the average people, man, this is why this is the best starting point to talk to people that are interested in crypto. Start with this stuff. Start with how much your dollar is actually buying for you over the course of 5 years, go back 10 years, and then compare that to Bitcoin. The comparison is that, and we get so screwed up because we value Bitcoin in US dollars. We really should be valuing Bitcoin and how many homes you get per Bitcoin here. Something else that's interesting for me to see, that actually probably am taking a whole advantage of this too. The cost of solar panels has fallen to an all-time low. So solar panels getting cheaper and cheaper here. I did lose my mobile solar panel setup. The very first Uber I got in Vegas, I left my freaking solar panel setup in. Absolutely aggravating. Absolutely. So I'll probably take advantage of this little pullback here on the price. But we are in a macroeconomic hellstorm right now. And this is something Peter St. Onge talked about here. I'll pull this up. I won't have to watch this whole thing. What he says is what we've been screaming from the rooftops here. It's we need a 6.7% economic growth rate just to keep up with the national debt. This would require doubling growth for decades. This is absolutely insane to think about, that we have to have a doubling of growth for decades on end to get out of the hole that we're in right now, man. And, you know, sure, they're going to find new mechanisms to keep kicking this damn can down the road longer and longer. But honestly, opting out of the system and basically just moving into, you know, crypto on a cold storage device. We have a great partner here on the Blockchain Basement. If you don't have cold storage, please take advantage of our link in the description for Arculus. I got their swag all over me. I think, yeah, my hat, shirt, they're in the right here. And we also have a video coming out of Bitcoin IRA. That's a good long-term way to hold your value within a IRA setup, Roth IRAs, all that tax advantage that comes with it. So click the link. Make sure to take advantage of those. Now, today we do have the Federal Reserve set to speak at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, this kind of got my goat going. We want quantitative easing and rates cut. We want a continued arbitrage of the macroeconomic environment and rates cut just to pump our short-term bags. Honestly, the system is so broken. Light this candle. Don't lower rates, right? Let it break. That's what I'm at the point of. It's like they skew the data so hard on us. They lie about the jobs numbers. They lie about inflation. They lie about literally every statistical data point that the Federal Reserve makes decisions off of, and then act like everything's so great. Honestly, light the candle. Don't lower interest rates. Let yourselves refinance $7 trillion of debt at high interest rates and go bankrupt. That's what I'm here for. Byron Hardy, thank you very much for gifting the 10 Blockchain Basement memberships, dude. Very much appreciate you. Holy cow. What a guy. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Shout out to you, dude. You know, it was super cool meeting Scotty Mack out in Vegas as well. Scotty, shout out to you, man. I met him. We sent him an Oculus card and kind of a care package for retweeting some of the stuff on my X account, man. Just randomly chose him. Very much appreciate you, Byron. Very much appreciate you. Thanks for supporting the channel. Byron shorted ETH. Oh my gosh, what a G. All right, so now let's keep moving here. We're getting through a lot of big news here. A lot of stuff. A lot of ground we're covering. Trump says that the meeting with the federal chair, Jerome Powell, was good this weekend. And now, okay, so this is the message. Trump saying that he had a good meeting with Powell over the weekend. And now Powell is coming out with a speech today at 1 p.m. It'll be interesting to see if Powell, you know, is listening to Trump, because I know Trump wants quantitative easing and kind of like a zero rate market so he can have a presidency in a bullish environment. Honestly, light this candle. I am so sick of seeing the lies. You know, I dare the Federal Reserve not to lower interest rates. Keep them high. Do the responsible thing. Keep the rates high. Go higher. Honestly, if you are an honest and responsible macroeconomic manager, you'd be raising interest rates right now. The system is so over-gluttoned on debt that they have no choice but to lower the rates to refinance $7 trillion in debt that's due within the next year here. So they're basically pushed up against the wall. Now, apparently there was a kidnapping of Macron, a wax vision of Macron, that is. Emmanuel Macron was kidnapped. Macron's wax statue was stolen from Musée Grevin in Paris. Greenpeace claims responsibility. What the Radio France? So Greenpeace, what the hell? Like they're you know, Greenpeace is claiming responsibility for this of kidnapping. And now Poopy Pants Jerry Nadler has been raided by ICE, Immigration's Customs Enforcement here in the United States. They raided Jerry Nadler's office. Representative Jerry Nadler, y'all might remember him as the famous representative that crapped his pants on live television. Shout out to you, Jerry. I wonder if he crapped his pants when they kicked in his door. This, speaking of France and crap in your pants, 2 dead, over 200 injured, and more than 400 people arrested last night in Paris. This was after, I believe it was a soccer game went down and civil unrest broke out, right? Man, it's probably a bunch of locals There's a bunch of locals that did this. You know what? This is why Europe, I feel very bad for the people that are out there, but we really need to think long and hard about how we're voting, right? Think long and hard about how you're voting, because you know what? This could be your daughter sitting here stuck at an intersection with a bunch of undocumenteds, and they break open the window, right? And that's your daughter in there having to deal with that situation. My heart goes out to the people of France. But let's take lessons from this. Let's learn and let's vote accordingly, right, folks? And if you are in a city center hellhole, this is some great alpha. A trash blanket. I know I've covered the trash the trash ghillie suit, but this blanket, look at that. You just toss it over, and your valuable's less desirable if you put that out there. So if you are stuck in there, now we had a volcano go off. Mount Etna erupted, sending tourists fleeing for their lives as the smoke plumes rise. This is just another aspect of like, what is going on? There are a lot of really weird movements going on with the crust of the world, and there's a lot more volcanoes than people, give acknowledgement to. I know that there's Yellowstone, which is a pretty well-known one, but there's one even bigger than Yellowstone under the water. And there's a lot of weird crust movements there. And yeah, you can prep, you can do what you can, right? But is this the cause of the Bitcoin drop? Maybe. And this, the world's just getting crazier, guys. This is my hometown. Boulder was attacked. Okay, so there's a guy named Mohammed Soliman, confirmed illegal immigrant from Egypt that entered the U.S. under Biden's years, overstayed his visa, according to Fox. And this guy threw Molotov cocktails at people on Pearl Street in Boulder. This is in front of the courthouse on Pearl Street in Boulder. If anyone's been to Boulder, they know Pearl Street is a pretty heavily trafficked area. This guy freaking threw Molotov cocktails, and this lady was like, I wish I had a gun right now. Well, you know what? If you weren't in such a dystopian Democrat hole,
I wish I had my gun with me. I'd do it.
Been able to stop that. Really, really unfortunate. And yeah, Colorado's drowning also. I am going to go visit Colorado here in a month, and I'm just hoping that it stops being so purple and goes back to being red, honestly. Like, an armed society is a polite society. So I will say that. Now, with all that being said, there's a lot of uncertainty on the markets. Where things sit right now, the less that these nation states like Russia and the United States and China trust each other, the more I can see the use case of an agnostic system of monetary control like Bitcoin taking over world finance. Point blank. The less trust there is in the world, the more use case there is for Bitcoin, right? So when I see this, I understand that, if the internet goes out at large, probably, Bitcoin's going to have a bad time. Okay. But the internet going out in aggregate is possible, but it is not probable. What is more probable is the internet continuing to expand, our lives continuing to be automated out, and AI systems continuing to outsource jobs. So with this confluence of things happening over the next 5 to 10 years, it has never been more important to find ways to outpace inflation, to find ways to take control of your own monetary future, because we are entering the great unknown, this moment where AI is outsourcing really even the use case of a lot of education. Okay, I know this is kind of crazy to say, but if you're not learning how to prompt AI and how to use AI, and you are in a white collar position, you are at risk. And some of the most forward-thinking creators called this out years ago, you guys. Let's take a look at this. This was just so true when I watched this. So we're going to...
Hey, excuse me. You're a handyman, right? Can I get you to come look at my oven door? I can trade you services. I have geology skills. Could you come fix my door and I'll give you some geology?
Hey, why don't you guys get out of here? You're making the Home Depot look all cheaty.
Fucking rich assholes.
Boy, I wish I knew how to fix stuff. I'd be rich too.
I could know how to fix stuff. The problem is, when I could have been learning how to fix stuff, I went to fucking college instead.
Yeah, he's right. We all went to college. And where did it get us?
Yeah, I'm still paying off my college loans. Yeah, so am I. Now I don't know how to do anything because I got suckered into going to college, learning stupid geology that anyone can know because of goddamn AI.
Yeah, fuck college.
Let's go get our fucking money back.
Yeah!
Hey, excuse me, you're a handyman.
How does South Park? I mean, it's so incredible how South Park is so ahead of the curve. And you know, when I was talking to this AI developer, honestly, like we both acknowledge this, like you can find so much information online and utilizing AI. Probably one of the more steady jobs that we'll see last longer than most is plumbers or, you know, handymen, people that are going into existing structures, you know, because there will be a degree of robots and AI that can build on flat surfaces, flat structures are fine for these robot systems. But going into an existing building and making your way into crevasses or places that aren't average for a robot to be able to do so, not going to be the easiest thing. Pest control is a great one as well. Fear and loathing media. You know, you just think in terms of that, right? Because there is going to be a great replacement. Honestly, like we're already facing a recession of sorts. We're seeing a white collar recession. Blue collar is honestly doing pretty damn good right now. And it's on a cultural level. We spent so long looking down at the blue collar worker and the dirty hands. Oh, gross. We all want office jobs and we all want to hang out by the water cooler and enjoy these nice cushy positions and just keep our head low enough to not be noticed by upper management. Kind of the Dilbert hellhole vision that Scott Adams had laid out for us, like a genius he was over the last few decades. And shout out to Scott Adams. He's going through some cancer, man. One of the most insightful artists of our time, honestly. But we look at this, and on a cultural level, we have been talking our children out of the trades positions. And now we're seeing software engineers being replaced by AI, graphics design, customer service. Soon on the blockchain and AI revolutionary front, it's going to be real estate agents. When we're talking about, you know, basic paperwork handling from one point to the next, it's coming. It's coming. So think about in your position, how far, and honestly, like I'm at risk of being replaced by AI 100% because they can just sit here and watch me and figure out how to, but you gotta keep them on their toes. You know, AI would never just lash out like that. I'm an emotional creature. But it is something that's on my mind. Right. And I have many companies that have approached and they try to harvest your data. They try to figure out how, you know, how does the human work? And they want to sit there and put their little algorithmic robot watching it for days on end. It'll take the information in, and they're taking it in either way. That's the thing, is you can sign up for it or they're just going to do it anyways, right? Because YouTube actually owns this data, or X. Think about how much crap is going out on X. Like X, Elon Musk's X, has a swarm of AI agents that independently put information onto X. XAI exists. They bought out X. Like the literal hive mind computers are being built right beneath our noses. It's about acknowledging it, about finding ways to protect my kids from a dystopian future where they have no future, where their use case is gone, you know, and really thinking ahead of it. These robots are going to take our jobs. You know, I heard David Sachs talking like this is a liberal talking about like, oh, this is just what liberals are saying to be against. Like, do I look like a liberal? I am a hillbilly that knows, and honestly, like, I'm like a well-read hillbilly that's hired for heavy industrial manufacturing construction, for 3A housing, multifamily housing construction. I run a small construction business myself. I've done a lot of different jobs in different walks. I've done the white collar stuff. Now I'm a crypto guy. But seeing this great replacement kind of roll out, like there's a coffee mug that I look at in my office that's like all the things that a graphic designer is, and it's a magician, a therapist, and all these different things. And literally in the course of 1 month, image generation came out on AI, and a lot of that was replaced. Okay, so really, really take this stuff seriously, you guys. This is the time to pivot. And you have to pivot as the times change, because for God's sakes, it's coming quick. Like the faster these protocols learn to code And the faster they move towards this artificial generalized intelligence, which is something, but also ASI, it's going to be very, very disruptive. And we can invest in this. Another, all right, so we got crypto is a solid investment realm, especially Bitcoin, right? Altcoins are going to have a few months of upside and then get the hell out, get back into Bitcoin. Nuclear energy, though, to power. So nuclear is going to come before AI goes widespread, because you have to put nuclear energy in front of AI systems for the AI to have the power to operate. Okay. So currently in our setup, I think that crypto Bitcoin is great in the short term. I think nuclear is a reasonable setup to look at as well. And then AI, honestly, we're getting into AI crypto projects, or you can look at NVIDIA, chip production, stuff like that. But it's kind of like a three-headed hydra where you have crypto, energy, nuclear, and AI systems. And that includes hard-sided chips, right? So there's a lot of money to be made. And then probably by the time 2028 comes around, we're going to have an extremely disruptive section of the market in nano robot technology. Little robots inside of your blood, pinpointing diseases, doing little changes with the little robot arms. You're going to have Tesla bots fighting the Pfizer bots inside of your blood. And you can invest in both, right? And take none of them and make some money that way. So, I'm just calling it as I see it. Don't be a therapist. Be the person that builds the AI therapist chatbot and gets the subscriber fees. Based MC0 base. All right, let's take a look at the markets here, the wider crypto markets. Let's see here, number 4. All right. So Bitcoin still writhing around here at 104.9. You know what? I'm snooping around for another long. I didn't really lose anything last night. Let's check out where we're at. I'll kind of walk you guys through my thought process here in the trading realm. So on the 4-hour, on the MACD, this is kind of a good starting point. We are rolling over from a very, very lackluster upside. Okay, so this thing only gave us like the ability to pump from 103 up to 105.8, and then it's rolling back to the downside. So the MACD looking a little weak. I am curious where the liquidity lives currently. So we're going to head on over to the liquidation heat map and see where market makers want to push the price to cause the max amount of pain, because market makers hate you and they hate me. We're at a dead heat race on the shorter time frame here, quite a bit right above us at 104.9, but there's two huge chunks here at about 102.8. So that's a dead heat race. 24-hour, a little bit backed up, a little bit more to the upside on the 24-hour. Let's go to the 48-hour. More to the upside again on the 48 and the 3-day. Okay, so 3 days where you're showing that washout to 102, really, really, causing a lot of pain here. And on the week, so in my short-term view, like I said, I want us to prove around 103 is the holding point here. There is liquidity below us at 102.8. So we hop on over to the Bitcoin chart. We're still on the 4-hour. Let's check out, because let's start from the beginning. The overall movement of the market, I figure out from the weekly. And right now, the overall movement of the market shows me that there is a little bit of writhing or haircut action going on here. Now, where we can hope to hold this level is right around $100,000. I mean, I hope 103 holds, but this we have to prove 103 is a strong bounce point. So that's why this green line is set here. The weekly, I still feel in general is going to play out from that Fu Manchu signal. Let's go to that one. Bam. Bam, bam, bam. So the weekly candle still looks good. Let's actually zoom in a little bit on this. A little bit of downturn on money flow. The VWAP to the upside here. I don't like clipping stuff into the market for new trades unless the VWAP is on the downside cooking up, not up cooking down. I'm watching this pretty closely. Okay, so we got the general movement from the weekly. I'm looking for us to hold around this 103 down to 100K level. So we zoom in on the 4-hour here. Bam. Now, what we got exactly what we wanted, and I did put these posts in the Discord. So this movement, the measured movement from this breakout happened pretty perfectly. So that thing played out like a gem, right? That was absolutely beautiful. And it's kind of crazy. It was the exact same level of movement that we had expected from when we were down at 84K, right? And we got that exact movement as well. So we've had two stair step moments. Now we need to prove this as support very, very bad. Kind of coming back down to this previous channel top area was what I was looking for before I went to Vegas. Boy, howdy, did we have it. James Wynn and all of his $100 million long bullshits are helping us come back down to this level because market makers got to wash as many of the plebes off the boat, even $100 million plebes, as we can before they start taking off. So on the 4 hour, I mean, the volatility is not to the downside. I really like seeing the 4 hour momentum wave to the downside before I clip the new trades in. This is why I got like a small play, like 103.7. That's why this green line is here. That one's still in play. Let's see here. So let's go to the 15-minute for all my trading degens there. I know you guys are out there with me, riding the lightning. Riding the lightning. So this is a very, very weak green dot 15-minute pump. Very, very weak. Very arbitrage. Generally, I like to leave Mondays alone. And there's probably going to be some chaos when Mr. Jerome Powell takes to the stage here today at 1 p.m. as well. So we got to think about these things when we're looking at the charts. I re-emphasize this. It's important to trade for another day. You don't want to blow your load in one move. You can't, man. Like, you got to be really careful because you can get blown out very, very easily if you don't have stops on. Or if you're just over emotional. Like, if you're trading, you need to be trading with an amount of money that you're willing to lose. It's like going to the casino. You got to go in there knowing that you might get your butt kicked here. And, really it's been years of time building my trading account from, 50, then it got to 200, then I got it to 1,000 or whatever. Then it fell back down to 200 multiple times before I was able to get into the multiple thousands of dollars range. And now, smaller trades are a few $1,000, but it takes a long time to be able to get to that level. Okay. So just keep that in mind. If you aren't there trading, trying to make the moves, because they can be very, very good. And honestly, since we dipped down to 75K, you guys were with me. We've put multiple 300 or 400, a 300%, and then multiple 100% trades since we dipped down to that 75K realm. So honestly, it's been absolutely delicious trading from this range where we had dumped down to it. We've been identifying these stair steps to a T so far, and I want to stay precise for my folks out there. Because in general, I know that we're still in a bull market, but I don't want to see people blow out their account trying to top blast with leverage. Right now, what I'm looking for is us to prove this level as support. And honestly, it goes down to about 102.5. We need to see this proved as support before we can cook back on up. That's essentially what I had drawn here earlier. And then the next move after we can prove this as support would be, in my opinion, up in the 130 to 150 range. And in general, I think we got enough juice to make it to 170 to 200K still as things sit right now. So that's where I think we're going with this. Guys, learn trading, learn DeFi, and live to trade another day. Learn to add liquidity another day. It's Rome wasn't built in a day. It's about making money slowly and protecting it quickly. Okay. And if you are out there trading, use our link in our description, trade with us at Blockchain Basement, Discover Crypto on L Bank. We have some great, contests going on that are all volume based. You click the link, get in there and, protect yourself, use stop loss. It's okay. And if you don't want to use a stop loss, then put enough on the trade where you might lose. And none of this is financial advice. This is me talking about what I do personally. But you know what? Jesus Christ, don't blow out your bag before the big moves come in this market. I think things are going to be just fine in terms of altcoins. It's about patience. I feel the aggravation. I know it, but patience has been my virtue in this industry for sure. It's how I have the low entry points that I do. And you know what? It's where it's going to be made. So Nick Dunn, after this, I'm going to be talking to Mr. TJ about our 15K and under NFT holders as well for the Discord. I love and appreciate every single one of you out there for supporting this channel for so long, for getting us out into the wild. You got us so far, even Altcoin Daily seen the show here. So I love you guys. Champ, Kyle Watts, Nick Dunn, Sufficient Enough, Green Day Profits, great to see you. Jay Blakely, Castle, Kryptoni, Mikhail, Brendan, MC0, Crypto Stevo, Patton McCrotch. My AI therapist said, suck it up, Buttercup. Dylan K, Shake and Bake, Wispy. I love you guys. Stay based out there. Stay focused. The world's very uncertain, but you know what the real certainty is that the system is breaking, and it's breaking apart into the black hole of finance, which we know is Bitcoin. So with that being said, I love and appreciate you guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Say hello to BitLab Academy for me on the way out.